Hello viewers, welcome to your program. This is Economic Insight and I'm your host, Paul Kingsley. Now, in continuation with the ongoing report you're doing on infrastructure development in Nigeria, today on the program we are in Triumph Facilities and Management Services. And with us on the program is the Managing Director CEO, Gbenga Jimoh. Is with us on the program to give us his own take, on the various issues affecting infrastructure development in Nigeria and also some topical issues affecting players in the construction industry. Sit back, relax. I'll be back after this time out. Thank you.
Triumph Facilities and Management Services Company Limited is primarily built up to provide integrated facilities management services, to an intelligently built up, building, to ensure around the clock, functionality of the building system. That's primarily, what we are, set up for, amongst other things. In our service, we target offices, residents, institutions, within the public and private sector, of the country. Yeah. The inspiration basically is, when you look at your immediate environment, and you can see the gap within the facilities that we have, it just readily comes to mind that okay, we could bridge the gap in this area, to ensure, you just imagine the beauty of working or dwelling within a building system where everything is working. The light systems are working, the plumbing systems are working, the mechanical systems are working, and all that. It can be a whole lot of frustration when you work within a facility that doesn't have these things functioning. So the idea for us is to bridge the gap, to ensure that what can be done to ensure that every given facility is functioning in its optimal capacity at every given point in time, to ensure that there are no downtimes, there are no drawbacks and so on in productivity. Yeah. Well, facilities management is not a new thing, especially in the international community. It's relatively new for us here, in the sense that in the past we've been used to the regular maintenance. When a system breaks down, you deploy people to go and fix it. But you find with awareness, in the global environment, you find that okay, we can achieve better. Why do we allow these systems break down? Why won't we put in the right professionalism, to ensure that these systems are functioning as they should. So for the country as it is right now, the awareness is coming up. It's still an upcoming market. Largely, the market is patronized by multinationals. Who, from where they are coming, they are already familiar with this, services. But gradually, the Nigerian economy is beginning to appreciate the need to have facilities management, put in place. It saves you a lot of, distractions. And you're able to eliminate downtimes, and so on. Your systems are working more effectively and all that. You know, so it's been given its rightful place, you know, gradually in the Nigerian, economy. You know, I believe there's still more grounds to conquer. You know, but the awareness is coming up strong. You know, I believe. Yeah. Well, you know, the factors hindering, you know, is centered around awareness, and then, you know, another thing I will mention is funding. You know, for some institutions, they consider facilities management as expensive. You know, why do I have to, you know, spend this much, you know, and so on and so on. You know, facilities management might look expensive in the short run, but on the long run, you find it is, you know, it's the wisest decision any business person, any serious-minded business person will, you know, will want to, you know, put in place. You know, because every of your system, every building system has been, you know, designed, you know, to function in a particular way, and then of course there's a lifespan. You know, that system is supposed to function. You know, so when it is being treated and managed the way it should be managed, you can, you know, you can enjoy maximum benefit, you know, from those systems. You know, but when it is not managed the way it should be managed, a system that is built up for an average, you know, 5-year, you know, 10-year, you know, span, you know, it's not lasting you barely, you know, 1 year, 2 year, they've packed up. You know, when you don't deploy the right process and systems into keeping them functional, you know, round the clock. And of course, there are processes and procedures. Unfortunately, in the Nigerian market, we have a lot of, you know, half-baked technicians, untrained, you know, individuals. You know, they will tell you, you take your system with one challenge, and then you go back with, you know, several other challenges, because they will have messed up the system, you know, beyond, you know, the state, you know, the status it was when you know, bring it in. You know, so facilities management is very essential, you know, to be deployed. Now, on the long run, it looks expensive, you know, but on the short run, you begin to understand that, look, you are saving a whole lot. You know, just like they said, you know, a penny wise, you know, pounds foolish. And then, of course, you know, going by the fact that, you know, the cost of, you know, all of these systems are increasing in the market. You know, why would I, you know, use a system, you know, for 1 year while I can achieve a 10-year benefit, you know, from it? So facilities management comes in. So, like I said, information. A lot of people don't have the information, you know, that is required. You know, so, you know, there's a need for high-level sensitization, you know, which is going on, you know, at the moment. You know, you find organizations that begin to realize that it's costing them much more money, you know, to maintain their, system. So why not give it to the experts? You know, so right now they are, you know, sending out their technicians for training, you know, on the know-how on how to keep these things functional, and, you know, they are acquiring more knowledge. And some of these institutions are outsourcing this service, because it's actually better for you to concentrate on your core area and allow those, you know, services to be rendered, you know, by the people who, you know, are trained, you know, to deal them. You know, so you know, I'll say, you know, information, you know, lack of awareness, you know, which, you know, is being eroded for now, you know, and then of course funding, you know, limited funding from the client, you know, end, and also from our own end too, because you find you know, cost of importation, you know, some of these, you know, consumables, you have hard and soft consumables, you know, getting them into the country is expensive. And you also look at the fact that the market has also been flooded, you know, by all kinds of substandard, you know, product. You know, so it takes someone who has, you know, a sound technical know-how to be able to, you know, discern between the, you know, a quality product and a less quality product. And then we also need to have a standard organization, you know, that is charged with the responsibility of, you know, controlling what comes into the country. You know, because a lot of, you know, substandard things, you know, are being imported into this country, and, you know, they are all over the place. Nigeria will allow anything to come in, you know, come from China, from, you know, all kinds of places. We take them all in. In fact, sometimes, not that these people don't have quality, but we Nigerians go there and have them produce substandard, you know, quality, so that they can maximize, profit. So you find you buy an item that is ordinarily expected to last you 5 years. You can achieve 5 years. After 1 year, 1.5 year max, you're already having challenges with them. So all of these controls has to be put in place, so that way, facilities management can really, the value and the benefit that it brings to the table can be, appreciated and enjoyed, by everybody who is, engaging facilities management services, or, of course, the end users of some of these systems, that we deploy in our offices and in our homes. So and that is a place the government, of the day will have to play a role, to just set up standards. We have these organizations in place, but I don't know if they are really functioning as they should. We have the standard organization, we have, organizations that are charged with the responsibility to make sure that, we get into the country the right quality, of items, and of course, how do you determine the right quality of items? We don't have that information, you understand? So the people in the, controlling, handling the standard systems also have to be knowledgeable, in the prerequisite, for every given product, that comes into the, so what are you checking, and so on. And then of course, we need to also block all of the loopholes, because all kinds of things come into the country through different avenues. Some come in through the back doors. So we need to shut our back doors, and you find all of these things are depleting on, our economic values, because, I mean, it's like hemorrhaging, we're losing a lot of, funding, and we're not getting value. So these are some of the challenges facilities management is, facing, at the moment, and I believe with, all seriousness, we can, get these things off the way, funding, and also, of course, the banks are not getting funding from the banks is also another issue, as it were, and when you get the funds from the bank, the cost of funds is also on the high side, so all of these variables need to be put in place so that we can, if I buy an item for I have a set fixed margin on every item, and I'll be able to dispense, based on the value that I got them. You understand? Because I'm in for, in the business, to also, make profit, and then, make sure that our overheads are accommodated. So this, in perspective, I believe some of the challenges FM is facing, will be alleviated. Yes.
Well, I think
Well, Triumph, we've been in the business for, about 10 years, now. It's a decade, running. And we have built up a very strong clientele, so far so good by the grace of God. We have dealt with quite a number of institutions and organizations. I'll just mention a few. We're working presently, we have work relationship with Alphamate Facilities. Alphamate Facilities is one of the leading, FM companies in the country. I actually, I'm a product of Alphamate in a way, before I set up. So that synergy is still running, and we partner together in quite a number of projects. We're working on, we're currently managing all of MTN projects, MTN offices, up north. All of MTN offices in Abuja and all the other northern states, states we're managing them. We're also managing projects with FIRS, Federal Inland Revenue Services. We manage their offices in the west and also in the east. We also are, currently managing, Stanbic IBTC, all of their, branches in the north. They have about 55 branches up north. We're also, working with Nokia, that in synergy with Alphamate Facilities. We're also working with Union Bank. So we have, quite a number of strong clientele bases, spread across the northern states of the country. and also in the west and in the east. I think the whole of the country, we have a staff strength of about 200, currently. So, and we're still counting, still prospecting and growing, And what we're trying to do is not just to, to manage. We're also trying to educate, because we have training, training services that we also render to these institutions to improve their manpower. Because part of our goal is also to build capacity. Local capacity, within, existing systems, so that way within themselves they can also, develop the know-how, to keep all of their systems functional, round the clock, so yeah. Now, maintenance is different. Facilities management is different from maintenance. I need to set that record straight. Maintenance is when there's a breakdown, you now deploy people to go and address it. Yeah. And that is what, large percentage of Nigerians are exposed to, especially in the public sector. We wait for a system to break down before we attend to it. But facilities management is different. Facilities management is to ensure that that system doesn't break down at all. So we talk about, preventive maintenance, measures, and routine maintenance. Basically, a system is designed to function and to function effectively well over a certain span of time. A system doesn't just break down if you use it the way you are supposed to use it. So that is what makes, facilities management a little bit higher, than maintenance. Because we look at every given system, before you even install that system, we look at, the system, what system will be most effective, for this facility. And then we make recommendation and then put in the right thing. It's just like putting a round peg in a round hole. It fits in perfectly, And then we check the system, systems and processes that should go into keeping that, facility, functional. We deploy all of these things. So round the clock, you find we are on ground, making sure that your AC is working the way it should work. Your generators are working the way they should work. They should be serviced after this, given time. And we're doing, the period on a daily basis. There are, routine checks that you need to carry out on this system to make sure that they don't break down at all. So the ultimate goal for facilities management is to ensure that there are no system breakdown. And if for any reason, there's a system breakdown, there's enough provision, enough plan that has gone into backups, so that way nobody feels, the absence of that system. Immediate backups, measures are deployed to make sure that you don't feel, this shortfall. So Nigerian culture, unfortunately, and regrettably, you find a lot of our infrastructures are poorly maintained. They are poorly maintained. You find there's a pothole on the road. We will not respond to that thing until that pothole becomes, the whole of the road is broken down. So these are the things, and what is responsible for this also is poor planning, lack of interest, and then of course also corruption. Because the mindset is, why would I attend to one small pothole, and how much am I going to get out of this? Let me allow it to get bigger. So when it gets bigger, I can create, make some good money from, out of it. But not minding the fact that just that small pothole can take a life. Just that small pothole can take a life. So, our culture, we need to do a whole lot, it's the order of the day. Nigeria is strong. Nigeria is very strong at planning. We plan excellently well. If you look at our planning document, excellent. We're very weak at, execution, at delivery, and completely poor at sustenance. Because at the back of our mind, we just look at the beauty, the aesthetics and so on. But nobody's thinking about, look, how do I sustain the functionality of this system that I'm putting in place? So that is something that, is actually, messing up a lot of the infrastructures that we have. and the overall effect is that, it's affecting our, productivity, it's affecting our growth, in some instances, provisions are made for sustaining these infrastructures, but the human factor, you find the provisions are made, but they are not being utilized. This money, these resources end up in somebody's private pocket. That's one. Two, the players, those who are actually supposed to drive this sustenance process, instead of engaging professionals, experts that have the right technical know-how, they will engage their brothers and their sisters, their cousin, you understand, who knows next to nothing. And for them, they are creating job, they are creating employment. But what about the system? What about that system? What about that infrastructure? So you find, these things will break down eventually. So much money has been, invested into these infrastructures. And it's just so sad, just a little maintenance effort, a little concern, a little effort to keep that thing functional. You understand? That whole system will collapse. And then we'll move on to another big project. And we'll keep moving on to another big project, keep moving on from one project after the other. This is hemorrhaging, and it's telling intensely on our economy. Giant, excellent projects, we put together. Look at our airline. Today, Nigeria doesn't have any airline. Why? Because we can't maintain them. We refuse to maintain them. And if we maintain, all kinds of mediocrity has gone into, making this happen. Look at our railway system. In the 70s, these railway systems were working perfectly. But for sabotage, you understand, somebody needs to rub somebody's palm. These systems were allowed to rot away. Huge investment has gone into that. Now we're trying to build our railway system all over again. And you can go on and on and on and on and on, all the different sectors of the economy. Poor management, greed, corruption. Part of the object of this program is to communicate and to sensitize, the people out there, that look, we can spend pumping huge chunks of monies, resources into this thing. If we don't check these things, we'll still go back singing the same song. These things will all collapse. We need to know why we got to, what happened to the systems in the very first place. We need to go to the drawing table. It's not just to pump in money, to create new rail lines, bring in new locomotive. Why? What happened? We had these things before now. I remember then, when I was in school, I traveled from Kano to Lagos by rail. And it's a lot of fun traveling by rail, because it exposes you to a whole lot of things, What happened? Why were they shut down? Now they were shut down because, somebody brought in, trucks, and then, we need to kill the railway so that, trucking business will thrive. That is one. And also another challenge is, now the trucking business, because our roads are not built up, for heavy duty trucks. The truck, we just do without thinking. Now the roads, became bad because, heavy duty trucking began to ply those roads. And it became, another problem. One problem will lead into another problem. Maybe trucking will be faster than rail lines, and then, trucking, your car and heavy duty trucks are, traveling on the same road. You can imagine the accidents, the evil that has occurred, because of, this heavy duty. Why not long heavy duty transportation? Let the railway take care of that. They are not hindering the traffic. They are not obstructing anybody. Even crude was moved by railway those days. But right now you find, now we will go and we'll continue to sing the same song if the right measures are not put in place. We need to maintain these things. It's beautiful the government is trying to revive them, but we need to maintain them. We need to maintain them. Facilities management needs to be put into consideration. And the error also that sometimes we commit in getting the systems in place is facilities management usually is an afterthought when the system is in place. Facilities management should be an integral part of the planning. So that, look, if I want to put this system in place, I, from my own end as a facilities manager, I'll look at the functionality of what you want to put in place. And how can I maintain that thing that you want to put in place? So I can advise you from the very onset. No, if you do this thing, it will be difficult to maintain, or we'll have XYZ challenge. And then whatever the challenge is, we are putting in place plans to mitigate against, the challenge that could possibly come up. So that way, so many things have been dumped in here, we can't use them. If you go to the National Hospital, I have information that some equipments that were, imported, that were, installed in those facilities from the very beginning when it was, some of them are wasted because the technical know-how to operate those equipments are not there. The technical know-how to maintain this equipment and keep them functional, are not there. So you have to import the expertise to come and fix them, to come and operate them. Poor planning. Monies that would have been used for, bigger and better, functions that will benefit, the common man, is wasting there, rotting away, and nobody, seems to care. Even the petroleum system, our refineries, some of the challenges we have with the refineries is because there was no maintenance. There are times scheduled turnaround maintenance that should have been carried out, but they are not carried out as at when they should, and then the things are rotting away. I mean, you can imagine we are producing the crude. We have refineries that could refine them, but we have to take our crude outside to go and get them refined before we bring it. Look at the time that has gone into that process. Look at the resources that has gone into that process. We are enriching other people's economy and then impoverishing, our own economy. Counterproductive. Nigerian infrastructure, the infrastructure simply tells us that we have a whole lot to do. We have a whole lot to do. We have a whole lot to do. So many things are not in their right perspective. We are developing at a snail speed. At a snail speed. And if care is not taken, you understand, the world will pass us by and will still be a developing country. We were here when Malaysia came. They came and seek opinion from us. But they are leading in certain facets of the economy where we are falling short. Uncoordinated growth. Everybody just doing is like the state at the state level. The state is not so disjointed. Everybody just does what he likes and acts. People should be made to answer for their deeds. Office holders should be made to answer for their deeds. When you go into office, what the first thing any officer, a lot of these officers don't have a clue as to what they're going to go to the office and do. They don't have a plan, they don't have any agenda, they don't have any idea. They just want to, enter, then let me get the accolade, the excellency. The governor, the commissioner, the chairman, and that's it. A lot of them are empty up here, nothing to offer. Sit them down and ask you, what do you want? What are your plans for the next 2 years or the next 3 years for this seat that you're sitting on? They don't have a plan. They'll look for someone to help them develop plans. Before you take up public office, you should have an agenda. You should have a plan. You should have seen within your environment and you say, look, I want to block this hole. I'm seeing a gap here. I want to block this gap. I want to present myself, to bridge this gap. Then when you enter into office, you begin to work towards that. And people will see, no matter how intangible it is, at least you are able to achieve that. But the reverse is the case. People go into offices without any plan. I just want to hold office. I want to, it has become a status symbol. That is not the motivation in developed countries. In developed countries, they go there, in fact, a lot of people shy away from such offices because, I mean, what do you have to offer? You have to have something to offer. Facilities, we have a mandate, to be present in every state of this country. To be present in every state of this country, rendering facilities management services, and then also empowering, the environment we find ourselves, empowering the people that we work with. It's not just for us to go there and display our expertise. We also have the mandate of developing capacity, within the systems where we work, training, and developing technical know-how, whichever environment we find ourselves. So that's a goal we have in the next 5 years, to be present. We have one or two, clientele, in every state of this nation. That's one thing we have at the back of our mind. And then the big picture, to be able to using media, using whichever way that is open to us, to be able to use it to challenge the government of the day, to come to the realization of the fact that we have duties to perform. It's not just about occupying an office and then enjoying the accolade of the office. It should be purpose driven. You are in an office for a purpose. You are in an office to achieve certain goals, and it has to be articulately, rendered, so that way, we're getting value. We're getting value. Our systems are working. The infrastructures are in place. Let people be conscious, of themselves, be conscious of the environment that we are in. Let it not just be myself, me and I. Let me know that, look, I'm living a life that is impacting on every other body. Let us know that, look, nobody is going to fix this country for us. It is our country. So in whatever way we can, drive this, through whichever means, propaganda, media, whichever work environment we find ourselves, to drive this consciousness amongst the people that we engage with. This country is above every one of us. This country is our country. This is the only country that we have, and posterity will speak after us. What were you able to put on the ground? That posterity will point at and say, oh, this institution, this organization did this, and we are beneficiaries. So that's where we want to see ourselves in the next 5 years. Blanket this country, and then of course, stretch to the rest of Africa. Because Nigeria is occupying a very significant seat in the nation. In the nations of Africa. And we are like the motivator. Every nation will take after Nigeria. They use Nigeria like a case study. So if we can achieve it here in Nigeria, that means it's possible for it to be achieved in every other nation in Africa. So my advice to the youth, for everyone, there's an area of strength. There's a gifting on your inside. God, in His infinite mercy, has placed on everybody's inside certain giftings from where they are going to feed from. We need to develop such giftings. We need to discover such giftings and develop them. There's dignity in labor. When you work and you earn your money, you know that, look, this money I'm earning from my sweat, not hand me down, not waiting for my father to die so that I can inherit him. Not looking on other people. No. Develop yourself. Be a man of your own. At the age of 18, you should be independent of your parents. You should be supporting your parents. And for us parents also, unfortunately, we need to wake up to our responsibility. I don't see any sense in somebody giving birth to 15, 20 children that he cannot train. Why? And he doesn't care whether they go to school, whether they don't go to school. You are creating problem for them and for the society. These are the children that will end up going into armed robbery, just any way they can make money easy. So give birth to children that you can manage. It's a God responsibility because you are going to be asked. These children you gave birth to, what did you do with them? Everybody has a responsibility. A father, a mother, a son, a daughter. Everybody is going to be accountable, for their lives and what they make out of it. Like I said, I'm an accountant by training, but I have a flair for just keeping things functional. That is the appeal for me. Things should work. The system should work. Why should I spend money on something that is not working? So I became interested. I started fixing things from my young age, dabble into things that is not my field. I just fondle with it and it became a passion. And then you find anything goes bad in the house, they'll call him, you will check it. Even if I know next to nothing about it, I'll just fondle with it somehow. I had this flair to get things fixed, get things functional, get things to be working. And that has brought me to where I am at. And then, my involvement in different grounds has also, had to develop the interest, professional interest. I've acquired professional knowledge in facilities management, with which I am doing what I'm doing now. And I'm still willing to, there's a whole lot to learn because every day there are new things, there are new methods, new approach, So married to one wife, I'm a Christian, by faith, born again Christian. I have 2 kids, a daughter who's going to be 12 in some couple of months. She's going to be 16 in some couple of months, and a son who's going to be 12 in some couple of months. Just 2. That's my family picture there. That's just the 4 of us, and that's in a nutshell who I am. Pray by the grace of God to, for life, for health, for strength to do the things that we plan.
Well, we must say a very big thank you, sir. This is your Jordan Cuttings for making our time to be with us. We really appreciate your contribution, your time, out of your busy schedule. We really appreciate it and your contribution, support on the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
It is a pleasure. Thank you so much.